The phone rang at 2:47 a.m. I know because I stared at those glowing numbers on my bedside clock as my heart hammered against my ribs. My husband Mark had been on his business trip to Chicago for 3 days, and late-night calls never brought good news. "Mrs. Davidson?" The voice was professional, clinical. "This is Dr. Martinez from Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Your husband has been in an accident." The world tilted. Mark, my Mark of 12 years, father to our twin daughters, the man who still left me little notes in my lunchbox even after all this time. "Is he okay? What happened?" "He's stable, but he sustained a concussion and some broken ribs. Ma'am, there's something else. He wasn't alone in the vehicle." My stomach dropped. Of course he wasn't alone. Mark traveled with colleagues all the time. Johnson and Associates sent teams everywhere. Was it someone from his company? A pause. Too long of a pause. "Ma'am, the other passenger was a woman named Sarah Chen. She listed herself as his wife on the emergency contact form." The phone slipped from my numb fingers and clattered onto the hardwood floor. His wife, Sarah Chen. I'd never heard that name in my life, and I knew everyone Mark worked with. I knew their wives, their kids, their anniversaries. We'd been to their barbecues and birthday parties. I picked up the phone with shaking hands. "Doctor, there must be some mistake. I'm his wife, Linda Davidson. We've been married for 12 years. Another pause. Longer this time. "I see. Ma'am, I think you need to come to Chicago." The next 4 hours passed in a blur. I called my sister to watch the girls, threw clothes into a suitcase, and drove through the night with my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. Questions swirled through my mind like a tornado. Who was Sarah Chen? Why did she think she was married to my husband? How long had this been going on? Mark's business trips had become more frequent over the past 2 years. Monthly trips that stretched longer and longer. He'd started taking calls in the garage, claiming the reception was better out there. New cologne, working late more often. I'd dismissed these things as stress from his promotion to regional manager. Now they felt like puzzle pieces clicking into place, forming a picture I didn't want to see. Northwestern Memorial Hospital smelled like disinfectant and broken dreams. I found Mark in room 314, his face bruised and bandaged, sleeping peacefully. He looked so innocent lying there, so much like the man I'd fallen in love with in college. How could this person have been living a double life? "Are you Linda?" I turned. A woman stood in the doorway, about my age, with long black hair and worried eyes. She was beautiful in a way that made my chest ache. Designer clothes, expensive purse, wedding ring on her finger that caught the hospital's fluorescent light. "You must be Sarah." She nodded, clutching a coffee cup with hands that shook just like mine had hours ago. "I didn't know about you until the nurse mentioned another wife had called. We need to talk." We found a quiet corner in the hospital cafeteria. 2 women whose worlds had just imploded, staring at each other across a table that might as well have been an ocean. "How long?" I asked. 3 years, Sarah whispered. "We have an apartment together in Chicago. He told me he traveled for work, that he was divorced, that his ex-wife was bitter and wouldn't let him see his kids much." Her voice cracked. I believed him. God help me, I believed every word. 3 years. While I was packing his lunches and doing his laundry and raising our daughters and planning our vacation to Hawaii for our anniversary, he was playing house with another woman, building a life with her, making her believe she was the only one. Did he ever mention the girls, Emma and Sophie? Sarah's face crumpled. He said he had kids from his previous marriage. Twins. He showed me pictures sometimes, said he missed them terribly, but his ex made it difficult to see them. She laughed bitterly. I felt sorry for him. Can you believe that? I felt sorry for him because I thought his ex-wife was keeping him from his children. I stared at this woman who'd been unknowingly sharing my husband for 3 years. She wasn't a homewrecker. She wasn't some calculated other woman trying to destroy a marriage. She was another victim of Mark's lies, just like me. "Sarah, what did he tell you about his work trips?" "He said he had to travel back to the home office every month, sometimes twice a month. Corporate meetings, client presentations. He'd be gone for a week at a time." She paused, understanding dawning in her eyes. "Those weren't business trips. No, those were his trips home. To me, to our daughters." to the life he was supposedly trying to escape from. We sat in silence, processing the magnitude of his deception. Mark hadn't just cheated. He'd created two complete lives, told each of us what we needed to hear to keep us believing in him. He'd attended parent-teacher conferences and tucked our girls into bed, then flown back to Chicago to play devoted boyfriend to Sarah. "The accident," I said finally. "Where were you going?" Sarah's voice was barely audible. "To look at wedding venues. He proposed last month. Said he was finally ready to start fresh, to build something real with me." She held up her left hand, showing me a diamond ring that probably cost more than my car. "We were supposed to get married next spring." My vision blurred. While I'd been worrying about the distance growing between us, wondering if we needed marriage counseling, planning to surprise him with a romantic dinner when he got back from this trip, he'd been planning to marry another woman. "Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Did you know? Deep down, in your gut, did you ever suspect something wasn't right?" She considered this for a long moment. "Sometimes. Little things. He never wanted me to call him at work. Said his boss was strict about personal calls. He didn't have social media. Claimed he was too old for all that nonsense. When I suggested meeting his friends from back home, he changed the subject. But I loved him, you know? When you love someone, you want to believe them." I understood exactly what she meant. Love made you willfully blind sometimes. It made you accept explanations that didn't quite add up because the alternative was too painful to consider. Mark stirred in his hospital bed when we returned to his room. His eyes opened slowly, unfocused from the pain medication. When he saw both of us standing there, the color drained from his bruised face. "Linda," his voice was hoarse. "What are you doing here?" "The hospital called me," I said calmly. "Your wife. Remember me, Mark? 12 years of marriage. 2 daughters? That life you supposedly escaped from every month?" His eyes darted to Sarah, then back to me. I watched him calculate, trying to figure out what each of us knew, what he could still salvage from this wreckage. "It's not what you think," he began. "Stop!" Sarah's voice cut through his attempt at explanation. "Just stop, Mark. We know everything about the apartment, about the proposal, about the wedding venues." She pulled the ring off her finger and set it on his bedside table. "About all of it." Mark closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was something different there. The mask had finally slipped completely. "How long have you two been talking?" "Long enough," I said. "Long enough to realize that you've been lying to both of us for 3 years. Long enough to understand that neither of us ever really knew you at all." "Linda, please." "The girls. Think about Emma and Sophie. We can work through this. People make mistakes." "Mistakes?" My voice rose before I caught myself, remembering we were in a hospital. "Mark, this wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated deception that lasted 3 years. This was you proposing to another woman while I was home planning our anniversary dinner. This was you creating an entire false life while I was raising our children and wondering why my husband seemed like a stranger." Sarah stood quietly beside me, tears streaming down her face. "In the span of a few hours, we'd gone from rivals to allies, united by the man who'd betrayed us both." "I loved you both," Mark said weakly. "I never meant for it to happen like this." "You didn't love either of us," Sarah said softly. "You loved the control. You loved having 2 women who believed in you completely, who never questioned your stories, who waited for you and missed you and built their lives around your schedule." She was right. This wasn't about love or passion or even weakness. This was about power and control and the thrill of getting away with something massive. The divorce papers were filed 3 weeks later. Sarah moved back to her hometown in California, started over with a new job and a new life. We kept in touch, bonded by the strange shared experience of loving the same man who never really existed. Mark tried to fight for joint custody, claimed he was a devoted father who'd made one mistake. But the evidence of his double life painted a picture of a man capable of sustained deception on a scale that made the judge question his fitness as a parent. He got supervised visitation every other weekend. The hardest part wasn't the divorce or the custody battle or even the financial mess he'd left behind. The hardest part was explaining to Emma and Sophie why Daddy wouldn't be living with us anymore. How do you tell two 10-year-old girls that their father, the man who read them bedtime stories and taught them to ride bikes, had been living a lie for half their lives? I told them that sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt the people they love, and that sometimes love isn't enough to fix the damage those choices cause. I told them it wasn't their fault, that they were loved completely and wholly by me, and that would never change. 6 months after the accident, I was cleaning out Mark's home office when I found a box hidden behind some old tax returns. Inside were photos, letters, receipts, and documents that painted an even fuller picture of his deception. Hotel receipts from cities I'd never heard him mention. Photos of him with Sarah at restaurants and beaches and concerts. Love letters he'd written to her, promising a future together while he was promising me we'd work on our marriage. But the most devastating discovery was a notebook filled with his handwriting. Page after page of lies he'd told to each of us, cross-referenced and organized so he wouldn't contradict himself. Birthdays he'd claimed to remember, work emergencies he'd invented, family obligations that didn't exist. He'd kept meticulous records of his deception, treating our hearts like a business he was managing. That notebook convinced me I'd made the right choice. This wasn't a man who'd made a mistake or fallen into an affair. This was a man who'd systematically constructed a false reality for 3 years, who'd planned and plotted and organized his betrayal with the same attention to detail he brought to his sales presentations. Today, 2 years later, I'm rebuilding. The girls are in therapy, learning to trust again, learning that not all adults lie to the people they love. I'm in therapy too, figuring out how to believe in love again after discovering that the man I'd trusted completely had been lying to me for 3 years. Sarah sends Christmas cards. She's engaged to a kind man who introduced her to his entire family on their second date and whose social media is full of pictures of them together. She says she learned to spot the red flags, to trust her instincts when something feels off. I'm learning that too. I'm learning that love doesn't require blind faith. That trust is earned through transparency, not through pretty words and elaborate explanations. I'm learning that the right person won't make you feel crazy for asking questions or wanting clarity. Mark's business trips taught me that sometimes the person sleeping beside you is the greatest stranger of all. But they also taught me that I'm stronger than I ever imagined, that I can survive having my entire reality questioned and come out the other side with my heart still capable of hope. The girls ask about him sometimes. They wonder if he misses them, if he thinks about them in his new life. I tell them I hope he does, because they deserve to be missed and thought about and loved completely. But I also tell them that some people aren't capable of the kind of love that puts someone else's heart before their own comfort. The phone doesn't ring at 2:47 a.m. anymore. My sleep is peaceful now, uninterrupted by the fear of bad news or the weight of lies I couldn't yet see. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes peace is the greatest victory of all.